Let's talk about school choice for a second. Our guest has an op-ed in Real Clear Education saying that getting it wrong on school choice cost Democrats. As you know, Davey, that school choice is a big issue here in the state of Texas. And joining us on 710 KURV talking about this, Cooper Conway from Young Voices is a research assistant for the Fiscal Research and Education Center at Ed Choice, among many, many other things he's got going on. He joins us now. So what's the case for Democrats to get on board for school choice?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. The case for Democrats to get on board with school choice is a case that I think many families can get behind, is that we believe that students should have the best access to education possible. And over the past few years, school choice has really exploded across the United States, and the Republican Party has really championed this issue. And for a long time, it was a bipartisan issue, but Democrats seem to have taken a step back, and they seem to have paid this price electorally. And so I believe that Democrats, to reconnect with these voters, should really try and engage with them on the issue of school choice and educational freedom at large.
Was this originally a Democrat issue, and they backed off on it? Was that my understanding?
Yeah, well, for the school choice is a long history in the Democratic Party. President Barack Obama, President Bill Clinton were both school choice supporters to a certain extent. And then early in the 1990s, actually, the first private school choice program in Milwaukee was a bipartisan coalition, and it still exists to this day. And a lot of Democrats ended up voting in support of that school choice program there.
And so in the state of Texas, we're having this big school voucher fight, right? And we're even getting some inter-party fights within the Republican Party because some of the rural areas said that, well, you're going to be hurting our schools, and it's coming down to like kind of a funding thing. And some of those guys got primaried out. So there's been this kind of internal struggle in the state of Texas with this school choice issue. So how in your view should this school choice discussion be discussed?
Yeah, well, again, I really think school choice appeals to a lot of different groups. And I think the idea that school choice hurts public schools really just isn't bore out in the research. For instance, once a state implements a private school choice program, the public schools and the public school test scores tend to actually improve due to competitive effects. And so they have an incentive to try and hold on to these students. And so they end up offering more extracurriculars or AP courses, things that the parents really want their students to be able to access.
Joining us on 710 KURV is Cooper Conway. He is with Young Voices and is a research assistant for the Fiscal Research and Education Center at Ed Choice. Davis Rankin, your question. Go ahead.
I've heard it said in Texas that they want to do away with public schools so that we'll have private schools because they're going to make money off those private schools. Have you heard the same charges or charge?
Yes, this is a common argument made by opponents. However, after a school choice program has been implemented, and school choice, like I said earlier, has been around for over 25 years now, no public school has ever shut down. In fact, many public schools tend to do better. And at Choice, our view is that we want parents to be able to access the best education for their child, no matter who's providing it, whether it's a public school, a private school, a learning pod, micro schools, homeschooling. All of those options we think can work well for students, but we just believe that decision should be left to the parents so they can choose which school works best for their child.
Can I have one more question?
Yeah.
There are people who say they know how to educate children. They're the people who will get the voucher money, let's say. What is it about education that current public education can't fix it? Why do we need another way of doing it if we already have this public education system set up for more than 100 years?
Yeah, well, like I said, the public schools are actually very popular, according to our polling, amongst quite a few families. However, we just believe that a one-size-fits-all system doesn't necessarily work for every single student. And so if you're going to a public school that you're zoned for by your home address and you think that there's another option that might work best for you, we believe that funding should follow that student to whatever that option may be. We're not saying that public schools are bad, and we're not necessarily public schools are saying there's good. We just say they work for some students, but they don't necessarily work for all students.
Joining us on 710 KURV is Cooper Conway. We're talking about school choice. So let's go into some of the arguments that we've heard in the state of Texas as to why we shouldn't implement a voucher program of some sort here. A lot of the schools are worried that they're going to lose funding, which, I mean, in my opinion, yes, but I think it's kind of a wash because that money's not really disappearing. Abbott wants the money that's allocated to the kids per head to be used for whatever it is that they need towards education in the state of Texas. So if they need books or if they need uniforms or if they need tuition or what have you, that account is set up for the student and they can apply that to whatever school that they like. So the money's not necessarily disappearing. It might be moving from one school to another, being redistributed. But what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of the education savings account, which makes it a little bit different from a voucher, right? Education savings accounts are allowed to be used on private school tuition, tutoring, special needs therapies, curriculum, anything that a parent believes is worthy of a private educational expense for their child. We want them to be able to use that and access it. Also, my colleague Marty Lucan at EdChoice has recently come out with a report looking at 48 educational choice programs since their inception through fiscal year 2022. And there's been a massive amount of savings for taxpayers ranging from $19.4 billion to $45.6 billion across the United States. And so we really think that there's a benefit for taxpayers, there's a benefit for families, and most importantly, there's a benefit for students, and that should cross all sorts of partisan lines.
What do you think that since we're talking about different things here. So one of the big problems that we've had here in the state of Texas, because we've been trying to get this done for years now at this point, part of it was the messaging of school choice. And we just experienced a little bit of it here, right? The terms, the definition of terms. So school vouchers, education savings accounts, and I think there's a couple of other different ideas and plans out there. One of the biggest things was defining what's the difference between this and that. Which one is a better idea? What do you think needs to be done to help kind of streamline these discussions?
Yeah, well, I think you have to get the terms correct. Often, people get confused with the vouchers and the education savings accounts. And like I was saying, there is a clear distinction between the two. One is only used to be able to basically purchase a seat in a private school, right? The other one is much more individualized and can be designed to the student that the parents receive the money for. And so maybe they do think that a private school would be best for them, but if they think that they can have access to micro school or learning pod, or they can even homeschool for their student, we believe the most customization is best for those students to be able to access.
All right. I have about a minute here. I invite you to make the case for people that aren't on board for school choice to get on board. What would you say to them?
I would say to them that our education system for a long time has created haves and have-nots based off of where a student lives, and that the future of our education system needs to be designed to the individual. ESAs and school choice provide that by being able to empower parents who know their students best generally. And so I'm looking forward to Texas hopefully passing an ESA and becoming a champion for school choice for future students.
Where can we find more information about what you're up to?
Yeah, well, you can go to edchoice.org and you can look at our 1-2-3s, which provides an overview of the literature. You can also get insights into the fiscal effects report. And then also you can see our polling on there and many other resources too.
Check out the op-ed in Real Clear Education, Getting It Wrong on School Choice Cost Democrats. That's Cooper Conway joining us on News Talk 710 KURV, part of Young Voices and a research assistant for the Fiscal Research and Education Center at EdChoice.